Hello tubers, how are you? Thank you for joining me today. I got an amazing project for you. I just wanted to come on actually and share this project that I did last night. It was almost like a test product, but it turned out okay. So I want to show you how I did it, because I'm going to make another set of these, but not these. I had another image that I wanted to transfer onto linen. So 3 beautiful little cushions. They're so sweet. And these ones have got the vintage images on, just gently tied together with jute, but they just make such a beautiful shabby chic decorative thing, you know. So with this one I printed the image out onto linen and then cut her with those crinkly scissors. What do you call them? Yeah, those like shearing scissors. What are they called? Pinking shears, that's those, with the pinking shear scissors. And then I actually did stitch her onto the background before I actually did the background. I then sewed it all together and then ruffled the edge by snipping the edge, each edge. And so I printed off the images onto linen first, and I just loved the way they turned out, and I thought, you know what, that's going to look amazing on a little cushion. So here they are. But then I thought, what am I going to do with the cushion now I've made it? So then I went off and made that one, and then I went off and made that one, and then I thought those look nice together. So here I am with the whole those look nice kind of things. And so I've decided that the next image which I want to do is an Alice in Wonderland theme. And it was kind of inspired by some altered cards that I found, that I think her name is Sew It Theme. Her channel is Sew It Theme. That's not her name, obviously. Sew It Theme did. And I'm going to put a link to her Alice in Wonderland tutorials, because she did an altered book. But doesn't that just look lovely? And so these would be just great as a gift. Let me go back to what I was saying before I get back to these again. So I'm going to put the link below of the Alice in Wonderland tutorial for altered cards. And that then gave me an idea. These little cushions would look so yummy with Alice in Wonderland. There's such a theme of Alice in Wonderland going out in the universe at the moment. I don't know who's triggered it, but it's certainly definitely out there. So based on this, the images are printed onto fabric. And here's one I made earlier. Let me just put those to one side. But this didn't go through the printer properly, so I had to do that part again on another piece. So there we have it. Whereas she didn't print it, which way did I go? She didn't print this side. Well, she did, but there was no edge, so I had to print it again. So in figuring out, oh, she's upside down, figuring out how to do it, this is just, let me just show you. This linen, let me tell you the story about the linen to start off with. Let me show you this piece because it's already off. This linen, I don't know whether it's going to pick it up. It's not linen. What's it? Calico. I think that's what we call it in the UK. I think it's calico. But I'm not very good with the names of linen, so forgive me for those people who are. I think it's called calico, and it's a beautiful sort of not cream, but not white, but it's not vintage either. But it is. This is vintage because it came off an old sofa that I'd had for, donkey's years, so in itself it was vintage. And when I took the sofa apart, it was covered in this linen, this calico. So I stripped it all off, got rid of I kept all the material that was covering it, and then I washed it all, and voila, we have some beautiful, I just love this stuff. It's very vintagey to me, very, well, linen, of course, obviously. And it prints on so beautifully. So to print it on, and this idea is not mine, and as I've said on another video, I got this from Tina, Shabby Dabby Doodah, but she got it from somewhere else. But this is just plain Avery label paper, and this is the second time I've used this one, actually, third actually, so it doesn't need to be used once and then thrown away. And what you do is you put your linen on. Now this is quite thick considering, and I've only got an inkjet printer. Okay, so what I did is I got my prints ready for the size I wanted, and I did that on Keynote, and got the sizes I needed for each of my little pillows. And then I put it through the printer. I just love this. I just love this. So now I'm off on a tangent, aren't I, to make loads of little Alice in Wonder pillows, but not going to make loads. I'm going to make a set of 3 and a set of 3, with this image as my set of 3 and this image as my other set of 3, but obviously they're on this sheet. So to do that, I've got to the right of me my big sewing machine, and I really thought I had everything, but I've so not. Where's my scissors gone? And I only want, I'm not going to use pinking shears, and the reason to cut this out, excuse me, is because I want to fray the edges, but I also, sorry, I'm thinking in my head while I'm talking to you, so this isn't kind of working very well. So you could do yourself a square template of the right size, okay? Which actually, now I'm thinking, sitting here doing this, that would be a really good idea to make sure that each one of these are the same size, because these ones weren't. And I kind of liked that. So I'm not sure whether I want to do this was almost like a 3.5 inch, a 2.5 inch, and a 2.5 inch. So these are like this because they're kind of little, big, well, not big, but they get smaller as they go down in size. But that's because the images were, whereas these images are all the same size because that's the way I've put them. So these are going to be probably a 3.5 by 3.5 by the looks of the way I've done that. Yeah, ish. Okay, so you could do a square template, and if you've got a big shop machine, you could put your big shop machine on here, put your fiddly-do, what you call them, dies, and literally cut through this quite simply. But I don't have a square die at the moment. I'm still waiting for that to come, and I don't particularly want a diagonal one. So let me just go off and cut these, and then I'll come back to you. So I've cut. Let me just see if I can do this around the sewing machine. So I've cut my square. I've also then cut a backing square. So I'm just going to stitch those two together, and I'm going to go up this edge, across the top and down that edge, and leaving the bottom open. Doesn't matter how much, obviously the more fray you want, then the more width from left to right where you sew needs to go. Let me just make sure I've got this right way. My squares won't fit otherwise. Okay, that didn't look right then. So I kind of come in about, I don't know, 1/4 inch. So I've got a little bit of fray then going on. And I'm just going to I'm not even going to do a fancy stitch, I'm just going to do a straight stitch. Just see if I can move this off to the side. Minus everything on that. There you go. Okay, so there you have your. It's almost like a pocket then. And actually, this has just given me another idea. How amazing would that be for a junk journal pocket? Be it that the figure's upside down, but if you printed the figure up the right way, you could have that as a junk journal pocket, could you not? And then you could stitch that, or you could stitch it into your journal. You could cut the top out so you've got cards that could go on. I mean, it's just that in itself is just amazing for junk journaling. Right, so we're just going to take a couple of these off for a minute. So now I'm going to fill it, not everybody's idea, but soft toy filling, 100% high loft polyester from Hobbycraft. Okay, now I know I get the whole polyester thing and I get the whole it's not natural thing, I get it. But sometimes there's a must. And this is one of those times. Because it does actually make, I wish I could use my old t-shirts, and then I did think actually I could use my old t-shirts, and you can. Be that I can't actually find the box of old t-shirts, which is why I'm using this. But then my second thought was actually, you know, I could use the stuffing, because I do have, and I've still got half a project left, I make homeless bedding for the homeless out of old plastic carrier bags. And then there's the stuffing that's left out of the carrier bag, the edge of the carrier bags that are left, I use as stuffing in pillows that I make. I thought actually I could probably use that in here, because that would definitely be then an upcycle, wouldn't it? And I thought about the buying process then. I get it, and I would buy something that's been stuffed with plastic, because it's actually just as good. Probably not as soft. I don't know though. The cushions I made are actually quite soft. But then I thought about who would, other than me, who would buy them. And there probably are a couple, but it really does limit probably the type and style of people who would buy them. So there's my stuffed animal thingy, what is it? Pillow. So I'm just going to bring the machine back in, and I've overfilled, I've really pushed it to the top so I can actually get this now. I'm going to stitch that bottom edge. And just make sure you have enough stuff in that when you've moved it down, when you've moved your bottom, because this is moved away from this edge that I'm now sewing, so just make sure you've got enough filling in to fill when you've sewn it up. Now, I'm also going to say at this point, this is the point you would put lavender or fragrance in there. If you wanted lemon balm, you could put it in there, or some sort of fragrance. But I'm not going to fragrance these up. And again, that was another option, thinking some people don't actually like lavender, so therefore it would make, I could do them with lavender, but I'm not going to, because it limits the amount of people that then could buy it. Yes, I did. So again, I mean, I have done lavender sachets in the past, and if people want me to make them some of these with lavender in, then I'm happy to do that, but you need to go across to my Etsy site and request it, or actually just email me down, but not email me, you know. Put a comment in the box. I'm on YouTube, aren't I? Sorry, I forgot where I was there for a second. Okay. Now, so there's my little fiddly-do, and I like him. What we're going to do with the edges now is I'm just going to take the corners off a minute. I don't want poking out corners. And I love this stuff because it does fray really well. Just don't want those. Well, they're really going to make a difference. And then you get a tiny pair of scissors and you snip. And when I say snip, you do not go past, obviously, the line where you stitched, otherwise your whole thing is going to come undone. All around the edges, and obviously if you've got dexterity issues, it is a bit of a pain, and I know there are tools, I don't know whether we can get them here in the UK, that are literally for snipping edges. So all you do when you've snipped your edge is just rub the edge, and that will get rid of all the loose bits of cotton. Spray it all over yourself, and then you'll have a lovely new top. Yeah, and this will then start to give it that frayed look. But you do have to really give it a good jiggy with it, you know. Guess you could wash it, but not sure whether the inkjet print would stay on it. I have ironed it, don't know whether that makes any difference whatsoever, but here we go. So there's one. Beautiful. I think he's so cute, man. He's so lovely. Now I did think while I was doing this that you could actually tea stain, or actually, because this is so neutral, this colour background, I guess you could dye it if you really wanted to, because it's as I said, I can never remember the name, calico, and so it would absorb colour like beautifully, and then the back nice. And so you make a couple of those, and when you put your wadding in, make sure that you use small bits rather than big bits, because then when you come to do this process it will actually spread out. Otherwise you end up with big lumps in there. So this is nicely, not too thick, a nice little pad. And you know, I thought about it earlier when I was doing some photos for the other set and I was putting it on my Etsy shop. I thought that would make a lovely little, put a biscuit on there, give it to, and put a lovely vintage tea party, and each one could hold a little biscuit or something. I don't know, crazy woman I am. Anyway, so I'm going to go off and do the other three, and then I'm going to show you how to package this up. Well, I'm going to package it up, not how you're going to package it up. So I'm just going to go off and sew and do exactly the same to the other two images, and then I'm going to make this a complete set. No, I didn't want to press that. Sorry, just press the... Here's the finished product. I know we've gone 1, 2, miss a few, 99, 100, but I'm going to show you how I got to this bit in a minute. So there's the final, my little stash. Isn't it just beautiful? And I love this organza ribbon. Actually, Alice is not even upside down. Look, that's no wonder. Okay, this organza ribbon, you can get this on my Etsy shop, but it's just a lovely olive green, and so that's got this lovely vintage feel to it. So let me just unravel this and show you how I've done it. So I just tied it in a bow, but I've gone around twice because I love this. I love the way, I love it when it does that, rather just have that than it just go round and round. So so I frayed all the edges and just cornered the corners because I didn't like the pokey out bits. And that one's going to match up with the rabbit, and that one is them having a tea party. So you could have these at your tea party. And then I just wrap them up. And you can wrap them up however you want. You could do jute. It is a bit fiddly, I'll be honest, when you do the wrapping up bit. Hence why I did it off camera first of all. But again, this set will be available in my Etsy shop. So all I did was that, turn that around to there. Turned it again when I got to the back, and tied it in a knot, not a knot, you know, tied it, and then did a bow. How super cute that is that. Well, it's not yet because I'm not done it, but okay. Actually, I'm going to cut the corner, snip that corner off. Snip that corner off, and there you have it. One beautiful little set of Alice in Wonderland cushions, mini cushions, decorative cushions. That's just so cute for a gift, isn't it? Anyway, that's all we have time for today. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Well, I don't know whether it's a tutorial, but I'm just showing you how I did it. how I've done them, because it is something I'm doing. It's not something I'm out in the world teaching. It's just something I wanted to share with you, really, one of my projects. And so I'm going to carry on doing the other set of 3. They will be on my Etsy shop, along with the vintage one. I did the vintage ladies. So these 2 now will be on my Etsy store. There you go. Hope you've enjoyed it, and have an amazing week wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully you'll join me again soon. Bye for now.